How did you end up with the role of Jerry? Is that something they made for you, or can you kind of tell me about that?
It was a weird situation because Amy Poehler was coming off of Saturday Night Live. So she was the hot commodity. And so the word got out, she's going to be doing a pilot. And then it wasn't even going to be a pilot. Apparently the network said, shoot 6 of them. So because it's the guys from The Office, Greg Daniels and Mike Schur. Greg actually, I think he handled the creation of the American version of The Office. And Mike was one of the writers on the show. And so these two are going to come together because NBC had said, give us an Office type spinoff-ish, whatever. And so then Amy had worked with Mike at SNL and blah, blah, blah. So Amy's got a show. So it was a hot property. You know, people wanted in. But this is, you know, not to get too actory, but I up until that, I'd had a very steady career, very blessed. Lots of guest stars, lots of, you know, pilots or that didn't go or whatever, but very generally busy enough to pay my bills. You know what I mean? Like I haven't had to do anything else. So I never thought they're going to hand me this role of Ron Swanson because it's basically the co-lead or one of the co-leads with Amy Poehler. So it turns out everybody was reading for Ron Swanson because even though they always wanted Nick, and to be honest, the thought of anyone other than Nick Offerman playing, I can't even, my brain doesn't go there. But my theory in my head, and I've done this always, you don't know who's going to be in that room. You don't know what they're going to be casting down the road. This is Mike Schur and Greg Daniels. I want to impress these guys. So even though the odds of me getting Ron Swanson are next to nothing, maybe there'll be a guest star down the road that they'll want to throw me or whatever. So I go in, I do my version of Ron Swanson, as did everybody in town. Believe me, they saw everybody. And I think it was 2 weeks later, we got a call. And actually, I will tell you this. I felt, when I left the audition, I felt great. Not that I felt like, oh, I have this part, but I felt I impressed these two people. And that was my whole goal. That was my goal because I can't control what happens after that. Mm-hmm. And so 2 weeks later, then we get a call and they said, would Jim consider reading for this other role? Well, of course. So then I go in and I read for Jerry and I get into the waiting room. Big guys, little guys, tall guys, short guys, white guys, black guys. So I know they don't know what they're looking for with Jerry because everybody in the world is in this room that could potentially be a Jerry. So I go in and I did my version of Jerry. And so apparently what happened, I found out later, like years later, Greg said to Mike, he's funny, put him at a desk, it'll work out. And that's kind of what happened. And when they hired me, I wasn't like my representatives at the time, and I don't blame them for this. I totally know where they were coming from, but they said, you might not want to do this because, you know, you've worked a lot over the years and they're being very honest with us. And they're saying, we don't know, like we have 6 main characters we have to address. We don't know what's going to happen. Jim is going to just kind of be there and we're going to see. And my reps were like, you know, you don't want to feel like you're doing extra work at this point in your career. Nothing wrong with extra work, but at that point, I worked a lot and I hadn't done that in a lot of years. So for me, though, it was a no-brainer. These are the people who brought us Kevin and Phyllis and Stanley and Meredith and Oscar from The Office, who were these background characters who have become front of our minds, you know.
Right.
So it was a no-brainer. So I signed on and did the first 6. I was week to week, but they brought me back every week. And then the middle of season 2, they offered us series regular, which is, of course, for an actor like, yay, yay, you know. But of course, you know, Parks it was never an easy ride as far as our success. It was an easy ride as far as the work because it was a gift every day with those people and that crew and those producers. It was unbelievable. Like I've been around a lot and I'd never experienced such camaraderie and such love on this. I just hadn't. And so that part was easy, but we never knew if we were coming back. Our ratings were tested every year. Like, oh, we don't know. What have you heard? Anyway, but like Mike Schur would tell us, the only control we have is a good show. That's all we can control. And we did that. I think we really did that every week. So that was great. But so yeah, I'm just a lucky SOB who ended up, you know, they could have given the role to one of those other guys in that waiting room, but somehow I ended up with it.